So, first headline today is DARPA is creating a travel adapter that will be implanted in soldiers' bodies. So, this article is talking about how soldiers who travel overseas for tours often suffer from things like jet lag, traveler's diarrhea, and a bunch of other health conditions and concerns. So DARPA has been working on an implantable device called the travel adapter, which will either be implantable or ingestible, basically a bioelectronical carrier that will provide soldiers with control over their own physiology. The two use cases that they talked about so far is being able to adjust sleep cycles. So imagine being able to set your time zone back or get into a different sleep pattern after a night's mission. Totally crazy, but so interesting. And the other use case they talked about is being able to eliminate bacteria that causes traveler's diarrhea after ingesting any sort of contaminated food or water. So question to you all, embedded technologies aren't that new for medical purposes, right? People have been using pacemakers and other sort of prosthetics for a long time. Where do you see implantable devices like this augmenting or upgrading the human experience for us in the future?
You know what, I'll jump in. I actually think this is further away than we think it is. I think this is a big jump to go from something that is not required, like a pacemaker, for life, versus something that's, to stop you from, having diarrhea. I think we're a long cry away from this. As you said, we've seen a lot of these things happen. Probably 10 years ago, they were looking at implantable RFID tags, and I know of nobody that has done that. And so I actually think this is further afield than maybe what DARPA is hoping.
Yeah, and I'll try not to be too Canadian and be agreeable and apologize and say yes and please, and I'll try and provide a different perspective. But I do agree with Sid on this one. I think this one is further away than we think, specifically when it relates to sleep and anything where it requires like a long-term data set to actually understand the implications of what altering your circadian rhythm is going to do for long-term. If anyone's read Why We Sleep, like the suprachiasmatic nucleus, that's the most badass term for a human body component. But anyways, that part of the hypothalamus is incredibly complex, and we're just starting to understand it. So augmenting your circadian rhythm for short term, we just don't understand what that long-term implication is going to be.
Yeah, my perspective on it is, I think I think this is the direction we're definitely going. I think what it's going to look like from a consumer experience standpoint is going to look more like a toy than like an actual anti-diarrhea type thing. So I think whatever it is, I think what Snap was doing or is doing with spectacles was kind of interesting and kind of going in that direction. So I think you're gonna see, if we can't figure out spectacles yet, I don't see us, implanting things into our brain just yet, but probably in about 10 to 15 years.
What about non-implantables and just more toy-like things like you talked about, Greg? I mean, I was walking the other day and I saw someone running with these very weird, pogo stick-esque running shoes that have springy things on them. I mean, that's an easy example of human augmentation. Are things like that, maybe not silly running shoes, but other ways in which we can augment ourselves either for performance or for fun, closer than maybe an implantable? And have you guys seen anything like that?
Yeah, I think Jay's actually probably best suited on this panel to actually talk about kind of augmentation and what we can do. I think any of that stuff that's not implantable, I think all of that stuff is game, and we would all use it. And this is no different to me than, the success that Jay would have had with Recon, right? Like all of that stuff makes sense, and it's easy, and, it's stuff that, my kids would use or my wife would use or my friend would use. None of them would implant all of that technology today. And so I think there is a big jump to get to implantable technology.
Yeah, I think that's largely right. I think that areas like exoskeletons and being able to supplement your strength performance, that stuff is starting to come to market already. So I think that's going to be a near-term reality. The AR and VR world. So thinking about a product like Recon, which was heads-up display for snow goggles and cycling glasses, the market never really caught up to where the technology was. And I think we're now entering a phase where the market readiness and willingness to adopt something like that is finally catching up, and there's starting to be interesting market opportunities there. You can see that with Vuzix and what they're doing from an industrial application for AR, and what even Magic Leap is supposedly trying to accomplish. Like, I think there's finally going to be some breakthroughs in that AR space.
And you'll see some of those heads-up AR displays becoming more ubiquitous, maybe even outside of sports, like people walking around with Recon-style glasses.
So I think the consumer appeal of a Google Glass version 2 is not, it's still not caught up yet. The market is not there. I think where you're first to see is going to be an industrial application. So military, heavy industry, those kinds of applications for AR, I think are going to see the initial adoption.
It's kind of like the cycle in most things, which is like, I mean, think about like the internet itself. Like you had military applications, and then eventually there was a consumer application. I think like basically what's happened over the last 60 years is that window has shortened. So like the military to consumer window a lot of times is shortened.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, we'll move on. We got a cartoon for the section. Cartoonist, you want to show us what you got?
Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the first one.
The best part is winning the war on street name. Nice.
And the second one.
Well, the jet lag is gone, but it still hasn't removed that embarrassing moment from 8th grade.
And
Nice.
that's all I got.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.